Hi, I'm Josh B with Bass Gear Magazine, and I'm here to show you the GR2 Envelope Filter from 3-Leaf Audio. We reviewed this piece in issue 6, and today I'm just going to walk you through a couple of the tones, try a couple of different basses, let you get a good feel for the pedal. To start with, I'm using a Skjold Designs Lions Pride model, which has an Alder body, a quilt maple top, maple neck, maple fretboard. I'm using a fret wrap to kind of control some of the overtones in the bass. And then I'm playing through my trusty Mesa M6 combo. The EQ on the M6 is set flat, except for the bass, which has just a touch of boost, which is more for my playing style than anything else. On the GR2, the controls are set at, sensitivity is set at about 1 o'clock, attack is set at about 9 to 10 o'clock, decay is set to about 1 or 2 o'clock, tone is set to noon, the range switch is set to the low position, the dry wet knob is set to 100% wet just so you can hear the effect a little bit better, and then the sweep knob, or the sweep switch, pardon me, is actually set to the up position. But to give you an idea of what my clean tone sounds like, here it is. Again, no EQ on the bass, and pickups are fully blended. Let's give you a little taste of the GR2. It's a very tasty filter. I've played with a bunch of them, and this ranks up there probably in the top 3 that I've played with or owned. Spencer really got it right. The original groove regulator is also a very sweet pedal. And as I mentioned in the article, some of the switches that were on top of the GR1, the groove regulator, have now been moved inside on the GR2, but they are on dip switches and they're still there. So let's walk through a couple settings here. I'm going to actually switch I'm going to leave all the settings the same except for the range knob, which I'm going to move to high so you guys can hear the difference between those two modes with similar settings. As you can kind of hear, I won't say you lose low end, it's just not as accentuated as it is in the low setting on that particular switch. I've used this pedal on guitars, basses, a Rhodes Mark II, a couple different software synths running out through the pedal and then into an amp or back into a DAW, and a few other things with great success. And having that switch is actually very helpful in the long run, especially if you're a multi-instrumentalist or someone who's going to use this pedal on something other than bass potentially. On guitar, the low setting was a little too much, so it sounds great in the high setting. But for my personal taste, when it comes to bass, I left it in the low setting 99% of the time. I just popped it up in the high setting to try what it sounded like, didn't like it, put it back down in low. So let's take the other switch, the sweep switch, and let's put that into the down position so you can hear that sweep as well. Again, same settings on the bass and on the pedal. Again, for my personal preference and generally what I use a filter for, I left the sweep setting in the up setting the majority of the time, but being able to switch to the down position for a couple of little tasty treats here and there was great. Again, in case you couldn't tell, I love this pedal. Spencer's not actually getting this one back. I'm gonna send him a check instead. So let's move on to another feature in this pedal, which is that it actually has an effect loop built into the pedal. I have an MXR Bass Octave Deluxe running through that right now, which is one of my favorite things to do with this envelope filter, is to actually have an octave with it. It adds just an extra dimension and a little more love. So I'm going to switch on the Bass Octave Deluxe. Obviously the GR2 is still on. The range switch is back in the low setting, and the sweep switch is in the up position. So here's what this sounds like with an octave with it. The other thing to note about the effect loop is the way that I have it set up, which is going my instrument into the input, then having the MXR run through the send and return, and then out into the amp. The Bass Octave Deluxe is not affected by the GR2 being on or off. I can use this effect independently of the GR2, which is great. So right now the GR2 is off, but the octave is still on. And then you can combine the two, obviously. Another great feature in this pedal. So we're going to be right back. I'm going to actually switch to a passive P-bass and let you hear it with that. Stick around. And here we are back. I have my passive P-bass, which is actually an 83 Squire Precision, which was made in Japan. It's bone stock. There's nothing altered on it. Even the tone cap is still stock. The way I'm running it is with the tone at about 50%, which is how I normally run this bass when I'm playing it out. To give you a taste of the dry tone, here it is. Now on the GR2, I haven't changed any settings from previously. The switch is for range is still in the low position, the sweep is still in the up position. I'm 100% wet, so you can still hear the effect very well. And then the settings are the same on the top knob. Sensitivity is at about 1 o'clock. Attack is between 9 and 10 o'clock. Decay is at about 1 or 2 o'clock. Tone is at noon. So here's the sound of a passive P-bass with the GR2. And again, in this demo, I have the MXR Bass Octave Deluxe in the effect loop of the GR2. Again, it's just one of my favorite tones with this pedal, so I'm going to switch the octave on with the GR2 passive P-bass. Here you go. So that's it on the 3-Leaf Audio GR2 Envelope Filter. Thanks so much for watching and reading the magazine. We'll see you soon.